Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Norb Camp coming at you on another episode of Walk Talk, where we're me and my business partner Mike Lorrain, who's a special guest today, who started this whole thing. We were going to be doing the first ever joint Walk Talk via StreamYard here, live on YouTube and on Facebook. So for all of you guys watching, thank you very much for doing so. So this is kind of cool. I didn't know if this was going to work, but it seems to be working just fine. So, Mike, I'm glad to have you on here. It's kind of cool that we're doing this simultaneously, burning calories and talking about life.
Thanks for having me, Norb. If you want, I'm happy to share my story of why I started walking.
Oh, I was definitely gonna start with that since it really was uh, the starting point, the spark that started this whole thing off. So, Mike, why don't you tell everybody how this thing even came to be? That here we are walking and talking. What was the spark
Well,
that started it all?
let's go back to the beginning. In the beginning, we were young and in our 20s and invincible, and we could do whatever we wanted, eat whatever we wanted, and we were always fine. But it's not our 20s anymore. I'm about 52, and
Exactly 52.
yep, and I have been having some trouble with my blood pressure, where it's in the mild high ranges, which it's for about a year or so. It's been hitting 145 over 80 roughly. Sometimes it's a little lower. It's not usually a little higher, but I've been aware of it, and I've done some reading, and blood pressure is also known as the silent killer. And I thought, well, I don't want to die. And I tried some medication, and it just made me worse. So I was sitting around about 3 weeks ago thinking, what am I going to do? I mean, I don't want to try other medication. It sucks. And I did some reading and it said the three things that you can do to help blood pressure are basically less drinking and smoking, which I already definitely can check that box, or less sodium. And that's a tough one because salt's in everything. Obviously,
Right.
I'm aware of it. And the third is exercise. And I have been a tennis player my whole life, so I play tennis once a week. So I do get exercise, but I know it's probably not enough. And so one of the things it said is walking at a brisk pace, 30 to 45 minutes a day. And I thought, I can do that. I can do that. It costs no money. It takes a little time. I can listen to podcasts. I can, and now here I'm talking to Norb. So,
We are now, instead of listening to podcasts, you're kind of creating one as you're walking. So you got a
and that
circular way things work.
And that, Norb, is how things evolve, because I never in a billion years thought, yeah, this is what's going to happen here. But, we're best friends, and I told you what I was doing. You said, yeah, I should do that too. And then, of course, you evolved it into walk talk. And now here I am with you, and we're both walking and talking. So it's really amazing how things go.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes there's never a plan for things; they just kind of happen. And
And the
I noticed
last
the
thing I'll
weather. Yeah. Go
last
ahead.
thing I'll say about blood pressure is I have a friend who's an EMT, and I was telling him about that. He told me, what I read is if your blood pressure is 180 over whatever, you should call 911. I thought, yikes, that's scary. And my friend who's an EMT said that he's gone on locations where people have been at 200 over something, and
Jeez.
that's just mind blowing. So I don't know. Blood pressure is an interesting thing that affects different people in different ways, for sure.
Right. So for me, after hearing your story, I don't have. Fortunately for me, I don't have the blood pressure issue. My blood pressure is actually pretty good. But where I do need to work on is I could definitely use to shed a few pounds. I started this thing off, I was around 216, which is about as high as I've been in a long time. And, of course, the doctor tells you, well, you should be about 190. I'm thinking, man, that's a long way to go for me. But I thought for me, I typically would normally be around 205. So I thought, if I get to 200, I feeling pretty good. So I checked yesterday, I was at 214. So I shed a couple pounds. Of course, I put them back on when I went to your house last night. The Oreos and chips and soda. So I probably just shot my entire diet in one night. But
I did
um,
notice you definitely were putting down the chips, but you asked for some chips. I'm going to give you some chips. I'm
I
not going to
know
tell you, hey
that's the
man, no,
problem.
you shouldn't be eating that.
The problem is if I have it near me, I'm gonna eat it. That's why my best battle against it is just not having it in the house. Because otherwise, if it's right in front of me, I'm gonna eat it. But anyway, but back to it. So yeah, so that's my goal. And then from a numbers standpoint, what particular number is high for me is triglycerides. And if you guys don't know what triglycerides is, it's like the fat content in your blood. And so if you have unused calories that don't get burned, they can get stored in these triglyceride cells or whatever in your blood. And it's not good because it could lead to potentially heart attack and stroke and all that stuff. So mine's really high. And I got to get that down. And they said, diet, of course, and then exercise, two favorite words doctors like to tell you're never doing enough of. So diet I'm working on, but the exercise, like you said, how hard is it to do something active every day for 45 minutes or so? And so I took inspiration from you to do the same thing. And so here we are. And I added the YouTube part because I thought, you always want to put something in there to keep you motivated, to kind of make you go, I need to go do this because, and it's good enough to do it for yourself. But for me, it's just kind of an added bonus to be able to do something. And at the same time, share thoughts about this journey and what's going on in the world. Obviously, not much in the world of Seahawks, but what is going on right now is my dad's battle with COVID. And I've been sharing in pretty much almost all the way since he's been in the hospital, almost 3 weeks, coming up on Tuesday. But I do have some good news. I told you yesterday. But the latest is we have a definitive date on my dad's release from the hospital. That will be tomorrow. So tomorrow we're going in there at 2 o'clock to do a little physical therapy training of what he's going to need once he gets out of the hospital. And my sister's coming in today, flying in this afternoon. I'm picking her up. And then she's going to join the therapy session tomorrow. And then we will begin the challenge of getting my dad slowly back to health. So, so the good news is he's getting out of the hospital finally. But I know that this is just the start of chapter 2, which will be a long one from what I hear. And we really won't know how he is until we see him in person and have him at home and actually have to help him out on a day-to-day basis to see what he's capable of doing. But I'm expecting he's going to be pretty weak, probably have lost a lot of weight, and will be needing a lot of assistance to do the smallest of things that he used to be able to do fine on his own. But we got my mom, got my sister, got me, and then we got visits from therapists.
All good news.
Who will come check on him. Yeah. So it's good. It's the first definitive thing that we've had since this has all started. So I'm looking forward to seeing my dad tomorrow. 3 weeks I haven't seen him. So yeah. So that's the latest. I'm very excited about it. So you still there, Mike? You kind of froze for a second, but you still live with me? Mike? We seem to have like a delay or something.
Yes,
you're not answering me. Oh,
can you hear me at all?
I can hear you right now. A little bit of breakup. Yes, okay. I hear you. Can you hear me now?
It could be me.
Your signal was breaking up a little bit.
Hear.
Okay. All right. Well, you seem to still be connected.
Okay.
So that's good. All right.
I was going to say that, your dad is such an active, positive, motivated guy. I have a lot of good feelings that he's going to do great in his recovery.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. Mental part of it is obviously big, and I think just being home out of the hospital environment will be big. Because I don't know about you guys, but anytime you go to doctor's office, hospital, anything, it's like the least enjoyable place to be, right? Yep. You just want to get the heck out of there. You feel like you're swimming in bacteria all the time, and people who don't really, they're just doing their job, poking you, prodding you. So it'll be nice to be home with home cooked food and your comforts of home, and I'd like to think that that'll help make things a little bit easier. But this is new for us, so we'll see how that goes.
The hospital is a tough. You can hear me, okay, right?
Yep, sound great.
The hospital is a tough environment. It's so busy. There's so many people. I think doctors and nurses themselves can be overworked. Even whenever I've gone into medical clinics and seen doctors, they always have one foot out the door when they're in there talking to me. And I'm sure it's because they've got this list of things to do. It's hard. It's a tough environment on both sides.
Right. Oh, I feel for them. I really have
Yeah.
a ton of respect for the doctors and nurses because not only are they overworked, but they're also now having to deal with all these protocols that because they have to be careful themselves about
Yep.
potentially catching things from they were already at risk, in general, but with COVID and all that stuff, they got to be prepared for that. So I know it's not easy for them, and there's more and more patients coming in. So it's not an easy job. So I respect the heck out of them, and they've done a great job with my dad so far. So uh, I am grateful for that. As much as I'm complaining about hospitals, you know what I mean. I'm not slamming them, just meaning
Yeah.
that it's not a fun place to hang out. So if you can get out of there, it's always, I think, a better environment to be somewhere where you'll be more motivated to wake up and smell the coffee, so to speak.
Yep.
So
One of the things I will say last thing about the blood pressure is my EMT friend told me, he said, dude, your blood pressure is not that bad at all. And he might be right. Obviously my doctor says it's up there, but what I will say is I'm so glad to be walking. I feel better every day. When I come back, I take a big glass of water. I just feel better, period. So regardless of the BP side of it, I'm really glad to be doing this. This is a permanent change, and it's freezing cold outside, and I've done it in the rain, and I thought the good thing is I'm starting out at about the worst temperatures of the year.
right.
And if I can do it now, geez, when the summertime hits, this will be easy.
Right. That's true. Yeah, when the first walk in the rain happened, it was like, okay, here's the real
Yep.
test of commitment. So yeah, no, it is to know that if you're starting the worst, if you can't handle me at my worst, well, you shouldn't be able to handle me at my best. So we're handling it at the worst right now. So yeah, no, I'm enjoying it. And this definitely helps pass the time because I don't even think about, my brain's on so different things like autopilot. So it's kind of cool to be able to do this. And this is awesome. This is great. We talked about this last night when I went over to Mike's house last night because I just happened to be in the neighborhood with a few hours to kill. And so we got together. We see each other mostly at work jobs on shoots, but Mike lives up in Sammamish. I live down here in Renton. So we don't cross paths all the time. It's not like the old days when we were roommates and when we had an office up in Fremont. So time
We crossed
together,
paths a lot then.
we constantly. So now we have to kind of manufacture time to get together. Otherwise, it's phone calls, emails, and video chats and whatnot. But so it was a nice chance to have gotten together yesterday to hang out, make a little video last night, a little video game thing for your channel and mine, and then watch a little video, some movies and stuff. So that was great. It was great to do that, and that kind of inspired this. So like, hey, maybe we could try to sync up, and here we are doing it. It's great technology.
A lot of firsts. 2 shows at the same time, and then this kind of new walk talk joint video call. It's pretty cool.
It is very cool.
Technology.
It is a pretty cool thing.
The last cool thing is just hopefully we talk about things that people enjoy listening to.
Right. I see somebody named Andy wants to talk Broncos with you. Of course, the problem is this is Mike Lorrain, 80s Broncos fan, not 2020s Broncos fan. So I don't even know if you can.
Yeah, I can talk Broncos. I can say I have this great garbage can. And John Elway is an awesome quarterback. When he made the team, I was thrilled. I got to go to some Broncos Seahawks games when they played at the Kingdom, and Seahawks fans yelled at me because I waved my Broncos flag. And I got bullied and picked on at school with my Denver Broncos duffel bag when I'd walk home. So it was hard being a Broncos fan growing up around here.
Well, serves you right. You get what you flaunt. No, but you did grow up in Colorado initially, right? That's why the Broncos connection to start.
Well, again, I was born in Denver, and when I was old enough to understand football, my parents said you should pick a team to cheer for. And I said, well, I don't know who. And they said, well, what about maybe the Broncos? You were born in Denver. And I will remind all your followers, was no Seahawks team at that time. So
Okay.
I picked the Broncos because that just seemed like a good choice. If the Seahawks had been around, I probably would have picked the Seahawks. But that's where it started. So then I start getting Broncos T-shirts from my parents and Broncos duffel bag, and there goes.
And then
So
you got bullied.
and I got bullied.
But you were in Washington by that time, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. We only lived in Denver. I was like a year or two before we moved to Moses Lake, Washington.
Yeah.
So
that's the background. That's where the Broncos side comes from.
yep.
So had to stop and tie my shoelace came undone. Then you missed a couple of cowboy blows off camera with the mic muted, so you didn't get that on camera.
I did that one time. I disappeared for a second.
I think that's why you disappeared. I think that's why your camera glitched, actually.
Yeah. It's hard to blow your nose when you're holding their phone in one hand.
Yeah, it is. It is. That's why I had the phone on the ground for a second, gave me the freedom to do so. So, well, for during COVID time, some of you might have caught when we started a side channel called The Watchmen, kind of a movie. Well, we actually had a couple of sites that we've done. We had Parking Lot Movie Guys, and then we started as Watchmen, and then it's evolved to your 5-minute gaming. But we did that during the time of COVID when we were locked in, we couldn't do much, and we were trying to figure out what can we do from our own homes that would allow us to still create something without having to go somewhere, and that kind of became the thing. But I miss doing it, but we still talk about movies, so you know, I'm just curious if you have any TV shows. People are constantly, I got Mark in my ear always asking, hey, Norm, anything good to watch? What any good action stuff? So I'm always digging through my queues and multiple platforms trying to see what's a good show, because there's definitely not a lack of content. It's a question of which one you want to do first. So what's kind of top on your list right now in terms of your go-to when you've got 2 hours to spare on a night? Oh, I got to go catch up on blank. What is your go-to show right now?
Sure. Well, my go-to show is Peacemaker, which you and I watched a little of last night, so we're all caught up on that. Enjoying that show a lot. I've been watching that with my son Brett, also known as 7 Core Drum or Mordrock 7, runs the NorbCamp Discord.
That's right.
And Brett and I are also working through Game of Thrones, which I've already seen, so I'm watching that with him, and we're enjoying that. But actually, and I'd be interested if any of your fans have anything to say about this, but one of my friends, Byron, also known as 12th Can Fan in some of the older NorbCam movies, he's been starting the show called The Expanse, which is on Amazon Prime, I believe. And
that's right.
It's a science fiction show, and he said it's 6 seasons, and he's enjoying it. And I love science fiction, and I asked him, I said, is this kind of more Battlestar Galactica, or is it more like Gattaca, Gattaca is more of a sci-fi movie that's not about ships and
less of a thriller and a little slower paced.
Yeah, more dramatic, just kind of, close proximity, less big shots, big traveling stuff. And he says more like Battlestar Galactica, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to give that a shot. So I don't know if anyone has watched that and would care to comment on. I figure it must not be bad because they've done 6 seasons. So if it's bad, they've done 1.
Right. Well, I'll check that out.
That's my side.
I've passed it many times. I've seen the image, and I look, I go, that looks interesting. But then you can go about 20 different icons and go, that looks interesting. Yeah. I'm going to have to check that one out. That looks interesting. And so, when it comes down to it, you only have so many hours in a week or in a day to watch anything. So you got to make a choice. But
that's right.
Yeah, but I'm enjoying. I got to mention. I mentioned Mark Collins earlier. He's actually in here watching, or at least he was. He chatted in here. Says he's getting ready to feed his face at Applebee's at noon. We're not going to Crapplebee's. We're going to Thai Ginger.
I like feed my face. That's kind of an 80s slang term there, right in itself.
Yep. But yeah, no, we're getting together. Me, Mark, and Sarah. We're having our first meeting of the year to talk about Fans for Good and what we're going to try to do this year. So looking forward to feeding my face in about an hour and a half as soon as I get back from this walk. But as far as shows, Yep, I'm enjoying Peacemaker. That show is it's raunchy, it's violent, it's got all the profanity you could ask for. Pretty much anything inappropriate it's in there, but it's funny. It's even very boy, not PC, but on purpose because every character in there is kind of a jerk. So it's one of the few shows that can actually get away with it because it's so overtly obvious what they're doing that they can pull off racial stereotypes because they're each calling each other that. So somebody might make fun of an Asian person, the Asian person might make fun of the Caucasian person, and it just kind of goes around in all kinds of wacky circles. So not for everybody, certainly not for the youngsters out there, but adults will have a great time with that one. As far as the other shows, oh, go ahead.
Whenever I hear, whenever I'm with you and Asian jokes start flying, I truly, Norb, I always kind of look at you, and you're the one that tells me if that was okay or inappropriate.
Right.
So I'm waiting. If it's if you're laughing, then think okay, I'll laugh. Otherwise, if you don't like it, then I don't like it. So.
But it kind of works. There's a scene where John Cena's the main star, and he's so kind of like doesn't even realize he's inappropriate. He's just saying things just off the cuff. But he says these. Oh no, I think this is her dad in the show, or his dad in the show. He's the racial one, and he's calling this Asian detective, female Asian detective, all these slurs, which you'd normally like, oh my God, the show should be taken off the air. But she comes back and acknowledges it and slams him with the same number of, white racial slurs. So it kind of just balances itself out. So everybody's just sort of being real about it, and you kind of feel okay because it's funny. So I didn't take offense. I just thought it was hilarious. But
that's a tricky thing though nowadays, because again, the reason I look at you is because I mean I could certainly myself decide this might be funny, but it's hard to know what's okay or not anymore.
Oh yeah.
When it comes to these types of things, because it's lines have been crossed. It's so mixed. It's so all over the place. So I'm very cautious because I don't want to. I respect everybody.
Well, so. And as you know, just with the work we do with the different companies we work with.
Oh yeah.
Diversity and inclusion is a big thing, and even for myself, who falls into that category, still have to be mindful of representation and what we might be implying. Because sometimes I don't even notice that something has happened that somebody could take as a kind of offensive. Sometimes I'm a little too sensitive. But
you see what's behind me there, Norb?
Of course.
I'm walking by. No, they're horses.
Okay.
I'm walking by a equestrian horse training facility up here in Sammamish, which is really big. They have big jumping fences, and it's one of the things I discovered because I've gone out and walked around here. So another good thing about walking, you find interesting things around your home.
Feed them a carrot.
So, like this horse. There are signs here that say, please don't feed the horses.
Aww.
So,
can you pet them?
Yeah, if it was my horse, sure, I'd pet it. But, you never know.
Yeah, so. Right. I just want to do an interview with the horse to see what he has to say.
Go, insurance, it's the best.
You knew where I was going with that one.
I knew where you were going.
Oh, man. Yeah. That's cool.
Say, watch Norb Cam. He's the best. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. I will add, my son Kyle, one of his favorite jokes is, what's a horse's favorite drink? Norb, do you know the answer?
I would say water, but I know that's not right.
Lemonade.
That's pretty good. Your son, Kyle, definitely loves the puns.
He does.
The pun master. And
anyway, back to your
TV
show watching.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Kyle did a nice little clarinet show last night for us. I hadn't seen him do that before, so it's cool to see him showing off his recently acquired clarinet playing skills that he's only developed in the last 4 months or so. Pretty good. Very impressive.
And you gave him some homework.
I did. I told him, have you ever heard of the musical piece called Peter and the Wolf by Russian composer Prokofiev? He had not. But I said, you should go check out the clarinet part in there, because in that piece, every instrument represents a different animal character in the story. And I think it's Ivan the cat or something is represented by the clarinet. So go check it out and learn it. It's really easy.
I
So,
will add just a thought that came through my mind, Norbin. I know you and I really liked the movie Mr. Holland's Opus, but do you remember there was a clarinet moment where he's trying to teach the girl how to play the clarinet, and he says, "Play
yep.
the Sunset." And during the big performance, it's a very simple tune, but she goes da 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 da.
Yep.
And it was wonderful. It's beautiful, but all clarinet.
Yep, that's true. Has he watched that movie yet?
Nope, I haven't shown him that one yet.
Well, maybe he'll inspire him for musical greatness. That's
Soon.
cool. So I'm at that part where I've exited the woods. I'm down by the power lines.
I see the power lines. Yep.
Power lines.
Power line.
The power line monsters back there. It's very foggy. Can you see the fog? Fog. You can't. In fact, you can't even see the stands because the fog is so thick.
Yeah, we
Pretty
have it
fog
here
up in your area too.
Yeah, no, I'll see. Can you kind of see it there behind me?
Oh yeah.
There's the fog.
Yep.
Fog.
Fog. There's the big towers. I always thought those were scary when I was a kid. Oh yeah, so other shows. Let's see. I am watching Boba Fett. I talked about it in the last episode.
Me too. That's right. I'm watching
this
that too.
show, and I wish I could talk about it with you from a visual effects standpoint, but yeah, you're not caught up yet, so
I'm not.
Catch up.
Darn it. That's an order.
It's only what, 5 episodes, 6 episodes?
Yeah.
Program.
We got 4 done. Just a couple left.
Yeah. Now the last one's pretty cool. I'm definitely looking forward to getting your take on what happens.
Well, one thing I can talk about, Norb, maybe you should start mimicking the opening music where they go, hey, 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 hey.
I don't know well enough. I always skip it now, so I haven't really ingrained it in my brain. Because I'm on a tight schedule, so I got to skip the intros, skip this, skip that, skip the recap, and get right to the meat and potatoes.
But I hope you're not skipping that Peacemaker open, because I'd never get tired of watching that.
Well, I watched it, I'll be honest, I watched the first 2-3 times, and then the last couple times I kind of sped through to get to the good stuff. But it is very entertaining. Even if you don't think you'll enjoy watching a show like Peacekeeper, just watch the open because, Peacemaker.
Peacekeeper.
Yeah, same thing. It's all about peace. Peace, you know what? And the open's pretty unique. It's definitely funny. You don't see opens like that very often. So what else are we watching? So I'm watching Boba Fett. It was definitely a little slow going. You and I talked about the first couple episodes that were like, takes his helmet off too much. But it's gotten more interesting for obvious reasons when you get to the last episode. And I think it's funny why, but we'll have to discuss that on another time. So
when you're done, I have one last story for you. So just when you're finished, I got a good one.
All right. Well, I'm approaching. I don't know if Mark is still watching, but I always have to mention that I'm approaching the area where we shot the rivals of the Chicago Bears scene.
Get out of here!
Get out of here!
Get out of here! Light beer!
Light beer! Funniest
Great stuff, Mark.
You got to watch that because that is some of the funniest stuff I think we've ever shot.
Mark, when you've done a show for us and you have samples that we resample, you did good.
He did. I didn't know he had it in him because that was the first time I ever gave Mark some lines and like a character, to portray, not just himself. And I don't know what he was supposed to be Chicago, and I don't know what the Chicago
sounded Minnesota.
Like. He sounded more like Bronx, but I don't know. He was just sort of something not Washington, I guess. But
what's great is it was mimicable, and that made it fun.
That's why we were cracking up, because at the time it was funny. I couldn't get past the lines because his acting was hilarious. But anyway, I'm at that exact spot right now. There's the path. There's the tree that Mark was leaned up against, right?
It's awesome.
Right over there. So I was walking back past this area and have warm and funny memories of this. Always will be.
That's great. I had no idea where you guys shot that. So
yeah, it's really in the neighborhood, because this place is just, as you can see, just simply a few steps away. But yeah. So other shows. What other shows we watching? We're a little bit behind. We've been waiting for my dad because we made Karate Kid, or not Karate Kid. The Cobra Kai is our newest family watch show, and that means not just our family, the four of us, but also my parents. And we watched we binge watched the first 3 or 4 episodes, but that was like over a month ago. And of course, with my dad's sickness, we've had to put all that stuff on hold. So I'm excited to get back into that. I feel like we're way behind. Everybody's probably finished it months ago, weeks ago, and it's old news. But for us, we're still smack in the middle. So we got to finish that one. And we also started rewatching Game of Thrones. But again, it's hard now in school. It got into it over the break. But now the school is back in, volleyball is back in. There's just not a lot of time to watch anymore because kids are up late doing homework and practice. So I always find those times when we get a nice break, time to cherish, because when we get back in the rat race, it's all
nice
very
shot.
busy. So
that's cool.
Yeah,
this is the fog.
Yep, this is awesome. The fog. This is kind of the overlooking the valley. Yeah, I haven't seen it like this yet. Usually you can see the other side where I came from. It starts up high, goes down to where we had our scene shot, and it comes back up to the peak, the crest of the hill, back to where the neighborhoods are. That's always my
It's
big
beautiful.
It's beautiful. It is beautiful, though. That's the other advantage of taking these early walks, is getting to see the morning light as the sun's rising. It is nice to see this.
So, can I tell you my story about this one other show I forgot to mention?
Tell me your story.
So, it has a little to do with you in an indirect way. So, our good friend Rob, that Norb grew up with, that is also one of my best friends. We were meeting for dinner a couple weeks ago, and we were talking. We always talk movies and TV shows and everything. And I was telling him, I said, it's always a funny thing about Norb to me is that, Norb is such a musical guy, but he doesn't really like a lot of musicals. And I know you like some, but you don't kind of seek them out quite as much as I do. And Rob said, "Oh, that reminds me. There's this great show. It's called Schmigadoon, and it's on Apple TV Plus." He said it's a story about this couple that's having marital problems, and they end up getting stuck in this town that everything the townspeople do turns into a song. He said, and the guy hates musicals. He hates them. And so, wherever they are, they talk about, what do you want for breakfast? Well, I'll have some corn pudding. And all the people in the town stop walking and they look at him and they go, corn pudding, corn pudding. We want corn pudding. We want corn pudding. So all the songs are in the style of the old Oklahoma and
wow,
all the old style musicals. And it's great because then the guy's like, oh my God, another song.
Oh, it sounds just perfect for me.
It's very funny. It stars a lot of Saturday Night Live people. It's Lorne Michaels is the producer, but they did one season, and I guess I said earlier if they only do one season, it's bad. Well, they'll probably do another one because it was awesome. But you have to like musicals, but it's very funny. It's right. A comedy, but there's only 6 episodes. But we knocked that one out pretty fast. But it was really, really great. I enjoyed that a lot.
I don't have Apple TV. I don't have Apple TV, so I don't know when I'll get to watching that one. Yeah. But it sounds like, well, again, just like Peacemakers, it's kind of a parody because of the comedy aspect.
It's totally a parody.
So when you do that, it takes it out of the genre that it already is classified in, because it's not a serious musical like West Side Story, right? The one that came out by Spielberg. You're either going to love and go and see that, or you're just not going to want to see it because it's clearly a straight up serious, big time musical. And my kids have no interest in seeing it. And we didn't see it.
What I will say, Norb, is that the song from one of your favorite musicals, which would be Sound of Music. The song "Doe, a deer, a female deer." Well, they butcher that song and make it R-rated.
Whoa!
And it's definitely. I thought, man, the way they do it, it's very funny. But I thought, boy, if my parents were watching this, I think they would be just disgusted.
They'd be writing a very heated letter to management.
But that's what comedy does. Comedy tries to take everything and turn it on its ear, and either shock you or just make it something different. So yeah, it was very good. I'm glad Rob recommended it. He loved it, and we did too.
I guess if I wanted to really just get the fix on that song, I'd probably YouTube that scene and find it. I'm
You
sure.
you totally could. Yeah.
But
But
so that'd be one way I can at least get a quick fix.
it'd
But
be a little out of
yeah,
context. But
right.
you
I'm
know,
sure I
maybe
would
there's a
get it
way you
though.
can
But
check it out if. Yeah, it's good and it's quick. I mean, you could watch it in one night. It's only 6 shows. They're all about 30 minutes each, so it's
oh,
a
okay.
very
Well, that's
very
always
short.
it's always
It's like
nice when they're short like that.
it's
You
like you're
feel like I
watching a
got 30
3-hour
minutes.
movie that's one season.
Right. Interesting.
So
Okay.
anyway,
Well,
I forgot to mention that was the last thing I had recently watched.
yeah.
Schmigadoon.
So yeah, it reminds me of Shrek. Remember they didn't have a lot of these musical moments, but I remember the one where they first arrive at what's the town called? Remember they had the automated
Oh,
messages. Things.
Duloc.
Dula, yeah, Dula.
Duloc.
How's that tune go?
Watch your face.
Wait,
Duloc is
you
a
were
great
breaking up auto.
place.
You sounded like auto tune just now because it was breaking up. So how does that song start? I'll know once it starts.
You remember, please keep off the grass. Wash your face. Duloc is the perfect place.
There it is. Unfortunately, the signal broke up terribly right in the middle of the singing. So you sound like a bad remix auto-tune version of it. But I caught the gist. I caught the gist.
Okay, here, let me try again.
Wait, you're still auto-tuning. You're still
Off
auto-tuning. Let me wait till you're clean.
Keep off the grass.
Nope, you're still auto-tuning. All right, tell you what. Let me talk for a little bit while you get. Nope, still bad. Still bad. You're like frozen now. You must be at a bad cell spot or something. Wait. Okay, hold on. Talk.
My back.
You're bad. Okay, now you're clean. Now you're clean.
Back. Okay.
The
So the
Duloc
town
song.
is called Duloc, and it's just
From Shrek
the one verse.
Whoa. Where'd he go? Oh, there he is.
Please keep off of the grass. Wash your shoes. Wipe your face. Duloc.
There it is.
Duloc. Anyway,
All right,
we should move on.
Yeah, we'll move on because you know what? YouTube or StreamYard or something apparently doesn't want you to sing that song because it breaks up exactly the moment you start singing it. So apparently it's not meant to be. But
Copyright. I got copyright struck.
Copyright struck with a auto-tune breakup. But I was going to mention and I don't know if I can attribute this to this walk, but a couple of days ago, the kids, I think it was Friday, the kids came home. Vanessa came home with a couple of her friends from school, and they're just hanging out. And then one of her friends, unsolicited, actually said, "Wow, Norm, you look skinnier."
Oh.
I'm like, "Oh, thanks." And I was like, and then even before that, the day before, while we were working out, the girls told me, they said, "Yeah, Dad, you know what? You actually, I think you lost weight because instead of looking 8 months pregnant, you only look 5 months pregnant." And I said, "Thanks."
You said, thanks.
It's pretty funny actually. But the point is, and I do feel like things are just a little tighter, and because for guys, where do you put on the weight first, right? If it's not in your face and stuff, it's the stomach, right? That's the first thing that tends to stick out if you're putting on the extra poundage. So anytime you feel like your stomach's just a little bit less protruding, you feel like that's more motivation for me to keep doing this thing. So I thought that was a nice moment. It makes you, all that time and commitment you put in, when you hear a little thing like that, it makes you feel like, yeah, that's right.
When you first said that, it kind of sounded like your mom. You're not as fat as you used to be.
Yeah. My mom might say something like that too, but she hasn't yet. Wait for that comment. Well, how close are you? How close are you to the end of your route?
For about 15 minutes. I took a longer route because I was talking to you. So
yeah, well,
I
think I'll extend mine too because I'm like in normally about the last block and a half. But I think I'll take
how many people are with us?
It says 36, which is actually pretty good.
It's pretty good.
But I think it's also because I'm streaming simultaneously to YouTube and my 2 Facebook accounts, so I'm getting viewers from that as well as YouTube. But that's great though. It's nice to see the people.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, Mike. Sorry,
There you are.
I was trying to scroll through the comments, and in the process, I kicked myself out of my own broadcast.
Oops.
Oops. I don't want to do that anymore.
I
But
was wondering what people are saying, if they had any questions or anything interesting.
let's see. All right, I can do this without messing it up. First, I would say Josh T, new NorbFam member. So thank you for joining the NorbFam. Appreciate it. Somebody, Gabe Johnson's asking, where is that? Well, as I said, Mike lives up in Sammamish. I'm here in the Renton area near Fairwood. I'll just say that much. That neck of the woods, unincorporated King County. Sharon Hubbard was well wishes for my dad. Thank you very much. And then Chandler Parmley wants to take a little Broncos jab. Remember when we smoked the Broncos in the Super Bowl 43-8? Of course, at that point, you weren't even really a Broncos fan anymore. Right?
I do remember, and that's just fine. It was you were at the game, Norb, and 12th Can fan was at the game. I was happy for you guys. You know what I will say about that game though is, boy, Peyton Manning, he took that loss with a lot of dignity over how I've seen a lot of other quarterbacks or celebrity football players handle a loss. They try to throw cheap shots or, go down kicking and screaming. He was, for the way he got beat up in that game, I thought he handled that really well.
Well, I think also when you get beat that badly and there's really not much you could say, I think it's actually easier to sort of accept the loss than, let's say, if it was one where they, threw an interception at the one. Never mind. So the heartbreak ones are the ones that kill you, that leave a bad taste in your mouth. But if you show up and you just get demolished, it's kind of like, well, what can I say? We got killed today. But he went and got his Super Bowl 2 years later, so it all worked out in the end for Mr. Peyton Manning, and with the Broncos. So he and his brother both got to get 2 rings, and now they got their Peyton and Eli show.
They're doing just fine.
They're doing that family's doing just fine. Now I understand that. I think is it Peyton Manning? Peyton Manning's got a son who's moving up in the world, and if people are looking at as potentially one of the quarterbacks of the future. But time will tell. Time will tell. The Manning pedigree continues on. First was their dad, Archie Manning, played with the Saints for I think most of his career, and then Peyton and Eli, and see if his son carries the torch. But so I think as far as shows, we should talk a little bit about the movie. I talked about it on here, but the fact that you and I saw it together, a rare time we saw a movie together, and now that people can watch it if you have HBO Max, we really enjoyed this movie, Nightmare Alley. It just started playing on HBO Max, and so a lot of people may not. It's directed by Guillermo del Toro, who's a fantastic director, Oscar-winning. Yeah. But it's a movie that it's kind of hard to put into. It's not like an easily categorizable genre, because it's not like some superhero movie, it's not an action movie, but it's definitely one worth checking out. And how do you talk about it without giving too much away? I could say is that you really get immersed in this movie, and if you don't read up too much about it before you watch it, there's a lot of great, just good character, good tension buildup. That's a must watch.
It's a period piece. Takes place in 1939 till about 1941. And, when period pieces just themselves have a cool look, because everything is of a different time. The clothing, the environments, obviously no cell phones, no internet, everything is a different time. But movies like that, it's all about the characters. And I loved going into that, like you said, without knowing anything. It was just a great experience. But, it's not for everyone. It's not an action film. It's not a comedy. It's a drama. And at my age, I love a good popcorn action flick. But movies like these are the ones that I think I walk away really thinking about it. And it's hard for me to find those movies these days. Most movies, they're good, but you leave and go back to other things. But this movie I was thinking about.
It stays with you for a while.
Yeah.
And thinking about what you just watched and the messages within. But it stars Bradley Cooper. He's the main star. Who are some of the other?
William Dafoe, Toni Collette, Rooney Mara. They're kind of the main.
Yeah. What about the main
characters.
the psychiatrist lady?
Yeah, Kate Blanchett.
Kate Blanchett, she's great,
She's
amongst other
great in everything.
stars. So,
Yep.
you right away recognize, oh, wow, he's in it. Oh, she's in this. Really good, well acted.
Yeah.
But just visually, it's quite a treat. It was great to be able to see it in the theater. I think we were able to appreciate a lot of those details. Which,
A simple
nowadays,
thing like I love William Dafoe, and he was in the last Spider-Man movie, and I
that's
mean
right.
he as a Goblin, he's great. He's so great. But there's a scene in Nightmare Alley where William Dafoe is having a conversation with Bradley Cooper's character over steak and eggs, and William Dafoe is telling him a very important story, and he's eating at the same time. And I found it fascinating I was so pulled into everything he was saying, and he's managing to pull me in between bites of steak,
Right.
and he's chewing, and the way he's talking and chewing, and it's a masterpiece of acting. I mean, that was just amazing to me.
The filmmaker in me, just because I know so much about how they do things behind the scenes, like whenever you see a commercial where someone's eating, like, this chunky soup is delicious. Richard Sherman did a commercial for that after the Super Bowl. And they're saying, and it's pretty typical for a scene where you're eating, because, you do multiple takes. So, of course, you can't be eating all the stuff. Your stomach will be bloated by the time you get to take 30, right? So normally what they do is they take a bite, and then once the cut's done, they spit it out into a chum bucket, right? That way, you don't give the actor's tummy ache. Not to mention they probably don't even want to eat it anyway. They just get paid to say I eat it. And but in that scene, he looked like he's really eating.
He really did.
And he's swallowing and something. I go, wow. So they're not following the old take a bite, spit it out. He's looking like he's chewing that sucker down and making me believe it.
And maybe he got it on the first or second take.
Maybe
he's
so.
so good. I mean,
Sure.
I would expect him to just be able to nail stuff pretty quickly. So that's just an example of just the masterful acting in that movie, as far as I'm concerned. So.
Yeah, that's really good. So if you guys have time, it's a longer movie. It's over 2 hours, I think.
2.5.
But it's 2.5. But it's got some violence. So there will be some moments like, oh my gosh. So there is some thrill factor to that aspect. But it will keep you on the edge of your seat, and you'll be kind of trying to figure out, how is this thing going to go? And so it's definitely gets you into it. But you got to definitely appreciate the slow roll in. It takes its time.
This is a movie about the journey, not so much about the destination. I mean, the destination is definitely a cool, but the journey is the best part.
Yeah, in fact, you might not even like the destination. Depends on what kind of style you like in the end of movies. But it is makes you think about it. Go, wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to head into the home stretch, the last final block here, because actually I've got ready for stuff in my face at not Applebee's. So, but since we're on here, and I know you've recently started putting videos back on your 5-Minute Gaming channel, why don't you tell everybody else about what is 5-Minute Gaming and why'd you get back into it after taking a little bit of a hiatus there?
Sure, you bet. 5-Minute Gaming is kind of where our Watchmen show evolved to, because it got hard for Norbert and I to do that together, and I love video games, so I kind of wanted to start doing a video game show, and I asked Norbert if I could just rebrand the channel, and he said, sure, no problem. And, Norb's joined me for quite a few shows, but I love video games. I have thousands of them. And so I've got about 94 shows on there now, and I took a break, but I've come back. I found a way to do it a little quicker, a little easier, a little more fun. So I'm remotivated. If you like video games, check it out. 5-Minute Gaming with Mike. And if you're not into video games, don't worry about it. It's no problem. But if you're interested in that, give it a look. And some shows are 5 minutes. Some shows are over an hour. It just depends. Right. So there's some that are 5, and the ones that are an hour, you can watch them in 5-minute increments if you'd like. So,
yep.
But thanks, Norb, for letting me mention that. So we recorded a show last night that I'm going to put up later today. So
yeah, it was a lot of fun. A little sneak peek into it. Mike surprised me with one of our old classic favorite games from the 90s when we first became friends. The Doom series and the Quake series. Those were all mid-90s to later 90s. But it was really like the birth of multiplayer gaming and first-person shooter games, and it became a staple of Mike. We weren't even roommates yet. Mike would come over like, "Hey Norm, you think I can play some of that Doom game you have?" And he'd come over,
Yep.
put the headphones on, and I see him over there playing. All of a sudden, he'd like jump out of his seat, out of startling from one of these creatures jumping out from behind a door or something. But it was great, and we were hooked, and led to many years of fun death matching with our roommates in the house during our
Yep.
bachelor days of the living up in the university district. So it was a fun walk down memory lane to check that out.
Yeah, the title of the show, I've already got it in my head. It's going to be called The Game That Began Our Friendship.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. All right, well, I'm back to the house. I'm going to get
All
ready
right.
for my lunch thing here today, but appreciate doing this walk. I'll do it again. If we can coordinate again, we'll do it in future episodes.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching, and drop us a subscribe, Mike's channel as well, and we'll talk to you guys later. Go Hawks. Woo!
Go Hawks.